So let's talk about English cities. Having visited them all, I thought I'd put together a little guide, region by region. For this video, we'll break down the 8 cities of southwest England in order of average property price from low to high. The idea is, if you're interested in the housing market, then this could be of assistance, or if you're here for the geography or the visuals, well, that's fine too. The prices quoted are of course time sensitive, but anyway, let's get straight to it. Number 8. So my guide to the cities of southwest England begins with what estate agents would euphemistically call ideal for first-time buyers, the city of Plymouth. But I'm not here to take any cheap shots. I'll leave that to certain other YouTubers. But just as one can selectively edit a video to make a town or city look bad, so too can you do the opposite to make it look good. Or you could, I don't know, show both sides of the coin. The point is this: Plymouth was sadly one of the worst hit cities during the Blitz, hence much of the city centre looks a bit modern. But what about the rest of it? Well, you'll find some sights that rival those found in the prettiest cities in the country, including a breathtaking walk across Plymouth Sound, the very same area in which Francis Drake was enjoying a game of bowls before sending the Spanish Armada packing, or the Barbican, where the Pilgrims set sail for the New World in 1620, all contributing towards making it a bit of an overlooked gem, especially for the history lovers. As for transport links, whilst it may be about 200 miles from London, it has got Cornwall right on its doorstep, as well as Dartmoor National Park and the English Riviera to the north and east respectively. The average property in Plymouth comes in at just over £242,000. Number 7. The second cheapest city in the southwest, at the time of making this, is one of only a few Roman settlements in Britain to be upgraded to the status of colonia. To the Romans it was Glevum, and to us, Gloucester. Geographically, Gloucester was once the main gateway to South Wales prior to the era of suspension bridges. As such, its importance has been arguably eclipsed by another city we'll see further into this list. With a fine cathedral, whose cloisters featured frequently in the Harry Potter movies, Gloucester is also among fine surroundings, with the Cotswolds to the south and east, and the Forest of Dean and the England-Wales border to the west. The average Gloucester property is just over £274,000. Number 6. Now to the first and only city in Cornwall, famous for its associations with the tin mining industry, Truro. So, being the most isolated city in the southwest region certainly contributes to its house prices, but with Cornwall comes a certain phenomenon, namely second home buyers, and indeed those relocating entirely. The degree to which these inflate the price is of course hard to gauge, but this, combined with the popularity of holiday lets around the seaside towns and fishing villages, does surely move the needle to some extent. As for Truro, it's situated slightly inland, so perhaps doesn't conjure up the mental images normally associated with the county, but then it does have Truro Cathedral, one of the last great cathedrals ever to be built, being as it's just over 100 years old. The average Truro property currently sits at just over £332,000, which for added context is above the UK average of £288,000 according to the Office of National Statistics from October 2023. Number 5. If you're interested in Roman history, here's the southwestern terminus of the Fosse Way. To them it was Isca Dumnoniorum, but to us it's Exeter. So here we have the second of Devon's 2 cities, or more accurately the first, being as its city status goes back to time immemorial, an aspect which ties in nicely with its iconic centrepiece, Exeter Cathedral. But what else has it got going for it? Well, in its vicinity is the English Riviera to the south, Dartmoor National Park to the west, and Exmoor National Park to the north, as well as one of the country's leading universities. On average, a property in Exeter costs just over £341,000. Number 4. Now to England's smallest city, or second smallest depending whether or not you count the City of London, i.e. the square mile. If you've seen Hot Fuzz, chances are you'll recognise this as a filming location. It is Wells. Just like Exeter, Wells has been a cathedral city since time immemorial, with a population of a little over 12,000 according to the latest census. This is about as far from a bustling metropolis as you can get. In fact, it doesn't even have a railway station. Nevertheless, it does have regular buses to a couple of other cities I'll soon talk about, and a short bus ride from Glastonbury if you ever need to go shopping for crystals or dream catchers, though the city itself is rather pleasing to the eye. Your average property in Wells costs just over £349,000. Number 3. So here's the city that was built from scratch in the 13th century and whose location is claimed to have been determined by the shooting of an arrow in the direction of where a new cathedral should stand. The cathedral eventually became the tallest in the country. The city is, of course, Salisbury. Being the most easterly city of the southwest, Salisbury is far from isolated. In fact, Waterloo Station is just a 90-minute train ride away. Closer still is Southampton, just half an hour away. And 8 miles away is Stonehenge, where the demons dwell, where the banshees live, and they do live well. So there's a lot to like about Salisbury, and indeed about the county of Wiltshire in which it's situated. A county where you'll find several stunning market towns, by the way. The average Salisbury property will set you back just over £350,000. Number 2. And the second most expensive city in the southwest is its largest. Situated in the county of Bristol is the city of, well, Bristol. With historic figures marking its past, including John Cabot, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and even Blackbeard, history lovers will feel right at home in Bristol. Among its features are a floating harbour, a series of maze-like winding streets in all 3 dimensions, and of course Clifton Suspension Bridge, all of which provide the backdrop to another one of the country's leading universities. Further afield you have South Wales, just across the 2 bridges over the Severn, and a few seaside towns relatively nearby, though at what point the Bristol Channel legitimately becomes a sea is a matter of debate in itself. The average property in Bristol comes in at just over £386,000. Number 1. And by process of elimination, you may well have already guessed that the most expensive city in southwest England is, of course, Bath. Or indeed Bath to the locals. Here's a city whose curative waters have been known about since allegedly before even Jesus Christ himself, as the Romans named it after a Celtic goddess of healing, namely Sulis, from whence the name Aquae Sulis came. But it was the Georgians that transformed it into the grand spa city it remains to this day, complete with honey-coloured stone buildings that evoke the spirit of the pre-railway era of Jane Austen, who did live here after all. And whilst the Roman baths may only serve as a museum these days, the practice of bathing in the legendary mineral-rich waters lives on via the Thermae Bath Spa. All this amidst yet another one of the country's leading universities. As for the average property price in Bath, that comes in at just over £572,000, making it the most expensive city in the southwest by a margin of nearly 200 grand. Thus concluding this guide to the cities of southwest England. Thanks for watching and have a great day.